The meeting is open now to testimonies of healing through Christian Science.
Jim.
Lenny? Jim from Arizona.
The past 3 nights have cooled off enough that just a sheet was not enough to keep me comfortable. In the middle of the night, I'd have to get up and find a blanket. Soon, however, that blanket would be too warm and I had to remove it. Last evening, as I was preparing for my daily watch for the church, the thought came to me to get the flannel-type sheet. But where was it? I haven't seen it for a couple months. Then the thought came to me that I should check the bed in the north bedroom. After my watch was completed, I decided to check for the flannel sheet. Did I go directly to the north bedroom, as I was told? No. I had to check another bed just in case. Finally, I did find the sheet, just exactly where I was told I would find it. Last night, I had a very comfortable rest. This is just a small demonstration of the effect of listening to that small voice. Often, Wednesday evening meetings, I am a bit disappointed when there's a period of silence. For I think that during that silence, we could have heard a testimony, however short, that could quite possibly have been just the words that a number of listeners needed to hear. I am most grateful for the Christian Science Church in Plainfield. Thank you.
Thank you. You're on my side, Jim.
This is Gary from New Jersey.
Okay. We talk a lot about spiritual sense in this church. And one of the things I'm most grateful for is being taught by a practitioner in this church to cultivate that spiritual sense, to respect it, to obey it, as the previous testifier indicated so well. A couple of years ago, I'm in the investment business, for anybody who doesn't know, but a couple of years ago, I purchased a bond that on the surface looked like a wonderful investment. There was one minor little thing about it I wasn't sure about, but I was assured by many that it was a great investment. Well, that night, I didn't sleep. That one little thing that I wasn't sure about kept coming back to me as being a problem. So the next day I checked with a couple people that I thought were really expert in that area and was assured that probably not a problem, so don't worry about it. But I didn't sleep the second night either. God was clearly telling me something. So the next morning, I made arrangements to sell that bond that I had just purchased. And the most difficult part about it was quite embarrassing, because in order to sell it, I had to admit to the world, including my most important client, that I had made a mistake. So I sold it at a small loss and went on with life. But it was several months later that it was revealed that that minor little thing that I wasn't sure about was indeed a major problem, because whoever owned that at the time lost their entire investment. It wasn't me and it wasn't my investors, for which I am very grateful. God had protected me from a real problem. So I am so grateful to have been taught to listen to that still small voice I'm so grateful for Mary Baker Eddy for so clearly and wonderfully giving us this tremendous science. It's great to be here today.
Thank you.
Craig from New Jersey.
Thanks for those wonderful readings, Bible and Science and Health. The statement, trials or proofs of God's cares, has been repeatedly proven in my life numerous times, and just this week. Well, I think I'd grown the most first when I had a nervous breakdown years ago, and I didn't think anything could help me, but then a practitioner did. And I learned to just take it a day at a time with God, and I could control my thoughts. That was probably the biggest trial. When my world seemed to be collapsing. I had another trial. It seemed to be that I learned the most when, don't get all puffed up with your importance, because you can easily get deflated for any situation. Like I got laid off. And it was quite some time before, and a lot of humility needed before I got back to work. And at that time, I had a family that depended on me. Well, this week, my wife and I had to look after her mother. And I call that a trial because they had claimed that she had dementia and it was hard to talk to sometimes. But we'd finished the lesson on mind. And it meant a lot to me, and I was walking with the statement, mind is God, the exterminator of error is a great truth that God good is the only mind, and that the supposititious opposite of infinite mind, called devil or evil, is not mind. It is not truth, but error, without intelligence or reality. There can be but one mind because there's but one God, and if mortals claim no other and accepted no other, sin would be unknown. We can have but one mind if that one is infinite. We bury the sense of infinitude when we admit that although God is infinite, evil has a place in this infinity, for evil can have no place where all space is filled with God. Well, that meant a lot to me. And it made me feel like this was just a false picture that her mom was facing. But I had to break my peace and finally faced it, maybe the second day that she was with us. And then from that day on, she smiled and she laughed and she was pleasant and she was talking how great a time that she was having. It you can't just let things slide by, but it had to be addressed. And she felt like she was grateful for being out with us. Yeah, that was a trial. I would have loved to throw it under the rug and just let the days go by, but it wasn't right, and God wasn't going to let it happen. So it had to be faced, and she's really enjoying herself, and she's, clear. I thank God for Mary Baker Eddy and the stuff we need to stand up to things.
Thank you.
Bruce from New Jersey.
I'm grateful for being in this church and being on the path. And I had an experience recently that meant a lot to me. I just wanted to share it with you. Because I've been reading and studying and thinking a lot about this whole idea of personality and realizing how so much of my life has been spent protecting what I think is my personality, maybe even proud of it or whatever. And I read in Retrospection and Introspection that Mary Baker Eddy has a chapter in there entitled Personality. And the last two sentences in that chapter said, this is Mrs. Eddy talking, I don't even think of my personality, and it cannot think of me. Whoa, that just opened things up for me, because this thing that's formulated in the minds of mortal and called a personality, and they would try to attach it to her, that thing doesn't even know who she is, and it cannot affect her one slightest bit. Now, I came to that realization I felt like I was shot to the moon and back. I said, "Dear God, show me, help me to learn my true identity more and more, and to have absolutely no regard what I think might be my personality, because it's a passing thing that's just going to disappear altogether, and in truth really never existed, not part of God's creation." You know, in the Science and Health, there's this one statement that says, "A wicked mortal can have a pleasing personality." So this whole idea of a pleasing personality, it seems like so many people want it and nurture it and trying to get it. Well, in the textbook, it is associated with wicked mortals. So that kind of like readjusted my sets of priorities and kept me going, helped reset me on the right path. Another step in the path of progress. So I'm grateful for learning wonderful things here in this church. I hope I can help somebody.
Thank you. Tom from New York.
Hello, thank you. Last night I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and when I woke up this morning, I said, that I really want to tell people about this. Most of my adulthood, I didn't sleep through the night, and often what happened is I'd wake up and then I wouldn't know what to do because I couldn't sleep and wasn't awake enough to do anything. So then by the time it was time to go to work the next day, I usually was pretty tired because I didn't really sleep that much. And all that's gone away. And so last night when I woke up at 2 o'clock, the first thing that occurred to me was, wow, how unusual. And I said, you really ought to be thankful for your blessings. And, I fell back to sleep right after that and had a really good night's rest. But I felt very thankful immediately for being a member of this church, and I wanted to let you know. So thank you.
Thank you. I think that's Elizabeth in Georgia.
Yes, thank you. A couple of months ago, I made a phone call that I had needed to make for quite a while. I was actually sitting in a parking lot, and my son was at an appointment to see a behavioral psychologist who was helping him with deal with some issues. I was a mess, and I'm grateful the practitioner in this church answered my call and listened to my tearful blubbering. Some friends in this church had introduced me to Plainfield and would kindly talk to me about the teaching. And I've been perusing the website to listen to some of the services and roundtables. I'd had the practitioner's contact information in my phone for about 2 years, and there were many times I thought I would call, but I just never did. I was afraid. I was afraid of many things, including maybe how I would be perceived, and that I wouldn't get the help I needed because I hadn't really gotten help in the past when I called practitioners. I had a lot of junk to remove from my thinking, stuff I didn't realize I was harboring that was wrong. I was consumed with pride and guilt that I wasn't raising my children correctly. I would stress all the time over why they were the way they were, doing the things they were doing, even thinking the things they thought, why they weren't good Christian scientists, etc. The practitioner told me to get on my knees each day and give my 3 children to God, put them on the altar and ask God's forgiveness and help and guidance. I had to get myself out of the way and realize God is raising them. He knows what they need. I need to be humble. I know nothing, Lord, help me. And to be grateful. And this came to me at first as being grateful for the things I have in my life. But then when I dug deeper, it's not for things so much, but for God loving me so completely and for guiding me. And I'm trying to work to let God express himself through me. I also realize that if I'm listening to principle, that if principle is behind my thought and actions, then I have all the power and confidence to say the right thing or do the right thing concerning my kids. And seeing them as God sees them, even when it appears one of them might be doing something I don't agree with, and this is the hardest thing, but I'm still working on that. One day, not too long ago, I realized what it meant when one of my friends here had said he'd been sinning. I had never understood that because I thought sin was one of the big things like stealing or killing or adultery or just getting in trouble. I didn't do that, so how was I sinning? Well, I was racked with self-condemnation, false responsibility, pride, shame, fear, guilt, and the feeling of incompetence. How was I calling myself a Christian Scientist when I was holding on to these things? It was hypocrisy, Satan worship, as the practitioner explained to me. This realization that I don't have to harbor these sins because they're not of God and therefore not of me has cleansed and purified my thinking, and I have felt a lifting of a burden, a freedom I haven't felt in years. My household is becoming more harmonious, and my relationships with my children are improving. I'm on a journey of getting me and just getting personal sense out of the way, and I'm very grateful to the practitioner for helping me see this. And thank you so much for your reading.
Thank you. The Moores from Georgia.
Hi, it's Maddie. Well, before I begin, I just want to say to my mom and Bruce, the readings tonight were absolutely phenomenal. I can't believe it. They were just one of the best readings I've heard, definitely on my top 10 favorite lists of testimonies. A while back, I had given a testimony on not needing a big, long quote from the Science and Health of the Bible to work with to get healing, to be healed. And my mom had actually given this testimony a few weeks ago, but I wanted to share my side of the story and what I did to reach the point of where I am now. I started high school around a month ago, and in the middle of the first week or so, I came to my mom in tears saying that I didn't have any friends, that because too many kids from the middle school had come up, they weren't being very open to me, and I wasn't being accepted, I felt like. And she said she would work with me, and of course I went and started working as soon as possible. And once I had calmed down, I just had this thought come into my head saying, let God lead the right people to you. And I just gave myself to that. And a very short while later, I have a group of friends that I am so grateful to call them my friends. They are just like some of the best people I've ever met, and I'm so grateful to God for him bringing them into my life. And thanks again for your readings.
Thank you. Suzanne from Vermont.
Good evening. I live out of town, obviously, from Plainfield, and it's really wonderful to be able to go to a church that is online or accessible by telephone that really does feel even more solid than any of the brick-and-mortar churches I went to before. And I was thinking about Mrs. Eddy's definition of church in the Glossary of Science and Health, where it starts out, church, the structure of truth and love, whatever rests upon and proceeds from divine principle. And I was thinking about this structure, and it occurred to me that I always thought the structure of truth and love kind of applied to the building. But the structure of the Plainfield Church is so much greater than just replacing a building with the amazing invention of the internet and teleconferencing and such. But the structure of not only the services, but the watches and the Bible study and Sunday school, round table, and it fills the week every other day or so with an incredible structure that aids in our spiritual progress and also in reaching out to the world, praying for the world. And I thought about this phenomenal sense of church that we have that goes so beyond a building and a congregation, but really it just reaches out to the world. And I'm grateful to this church for always coming up with new and fresh ideas. The content on our website is really phenomenal, and there's so much to it. And I'm saying this after I've been with the church since 2002, and I have to say I never really appreciated it as much as I do now when I started calling the practitioner more regularly, being more involved with the Bible study and the roundtable, and taking it more seriously and not just kind of reaching out to the church website when I felt like it, but really understanding that it is based on principle, and I needed to step up to the plate. Anyway, I'm so grateful for this church, for this structure of truth and love that has helped me so much in my life, and I just can't be more grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. And the French-speaking Christian scientists of the world are grateful for your translation of our lessons too, Suzanne. Thank you.
Lillian from New Jersey.
Well, a recent calendar statement I found so true and powerful. Your Father is rich and will not deprive you of one good thing, but will add continually to your storehouse of blessings. Mary Baker Eddy. God is so good, and He's always with each one of us every moment. And I have been so blessed by God since I came to this independent Christian Science Church, and I can never be grateful enough for His love and His blessings. And thank you for those wonderful readings.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bill from New Jersey.
I just want to say how grateful I am for this church because it is a lifesaver. Recently, I had bought into some human things of great importance to me, and it had been a couple of years on my mind, and I was really confused and taking it on personally, and just headed totally in the wrong direction. And I was so grateful for so many people here who expressed a lot of love to help wake me up and see what was happening. And I know of no other place where that would have happened. And I was able then to make a decision. I figured, after all, this Labor Day would be 19 years I've been here, that I moved to Plainfield. And I said, in 19 years, why in the world would I be buying into some human mind thing or medical? And I said, I know better than that. And the first thing I should have done was go to a practitioner and say, let's handle this. And so that's what I did. I kind of burned the bridges I made and said, you know, I'm a scientist, you know, and I know it in my heart. I came here for that reason, and I know it works. And that was my decision. And I thank God for all the love everybody here expressed to help wake me up and see that. And for a practitioner, that was a lot of help getting me there. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew from New Jersey. I'm very grateful for the round table. I was listening to it this week and last week and marveling at what we have going. I don't think you'll find it too many places where there's a group that works together, where there's no pride interfering with the interaction, where people are not afraid to speak up. And I believe it's a far more powerful mechanism than teaching in the typical way, because people are providing their own experiences, and it's from the heart. I've talked to people who have listened to these roundtables, and they love that part of it. And it helps bring these deep lessons home to something practical. It is really a phenomenal thing we have going. And I think if you search the world, you'll rarely find, if ever, I'm sure maybe somewhere, such a open feeling. As Jacob said, there's no pride. And if it tries to crop up, it sticks out like a sore thumb, and it's addressed. Only God could do this, and I'm very grateful to God. And for Mary Baker-Eddy, who we are getting to know, and her science, we're getting to know better and better, as we throw off these old strictures of institutional religion, which has nothing whatever to do with Christian Science. Florence from Georgia.
Thank you. I'd like to say thanks to the readings tonight, and also to express my gratitude to God for making it possible for me to visit the church this past weekend. It's been a desire for so long, but I know now that when you wait on God, He does make it possible. I was so grateful to be there, to see everybody. I did remember some people, missed some people, but it was really nice to see what God is doing through a few people. To stand in there and see just a few people, but the dedication was obvious, the warmth of receiving people, it was all obvious, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to make that trip. Certainly we'll be making some more. Thank you so much again for the reading.
Thank you. Shardy from Pennsylvania.
I had to say thank you. I couldn't let it go by. Every testimony, the whole service, every testimony means so much to me. I am working with a practitioner who is really setting me on the right path, and the gratitude I feel is overwhelming at the moment. Thank you, Plainfield.
Thank you. Dale W., Virginia.
Yes, thank you. The readings were so wonderful, and I thank each one for every testimony tonight. I'm very grateful for the forum highlights, which can be accessed from the homepage of the church website. Even if you regularly read or participate in the forum each day on the weekly lesson, Going over these issues, which have been wonderfully put together, is a great benefit. I've been in Christian Science all of my life, and I've never experienced such an enlightening and helpful compilation of thoughts and unfolding ideas on the Bible lessons as can be found here. So thank you. It means a lot.
Thank you.
Mary from New Jersey.
Okay, from Georgia. Dear Plainfield members, thank you all for all that you do each day and every week to further the cause of Christian Science, both locally and throughout the world. Know that your time is well spent, and you could not be focused on a more important task than what you are doing. This is the work that if Mary Baker Eddy were here with us today, she would be most supportive of continuing. Using the internet to provide you with the fabulous tools to send this healing message out to all corners of the earth. We who are at the receiving end are most grateful and appreciative. Please accept the enclosed contribution to support the wonderful work you are doing at Plainfield. And then Alabama, I'm enjoying the changes taking place during the services and the meetings. With love. California, dear friends, thank you for the Christly love expressed to all. I am very grateful to have found the Plainfield Christian Science Church independent. Though I found it years ago, this church is always fresh and new. Enclosed is my contribution, sincerely. And then Maryland, dear Plainfield, enclosed is a donation in support of the website. I know that these IT services have costs associated with them, and I'm glad to help support them. Sincerely. And England, I'd like to say how grateful I am for the wonderful items I have been able to access on the Plainfield website. I have been listening to archived audio services and have been systematically listening to each one. It's been a joy, and the Wednesday testimony services have been so inspirational. Thank you, too, for all the lovely hymns. I listen to them even if I'm busy at home and find them very uplifting. I'm gradually getting round to accessing more and more on your website, and there's so much on it, and I'm learning so much. So a big thanks to all of you. A while ago, in Edward Kimball's book, Lectures and Articles on Christian Science, there was a section on handling fear, and I quote this where he says, "You don't have to be afraid. Take God at his word, quote, be not afraid," end quote. As soon as possible, you want to put out an advertisement mentally. This place has changed hands. When I first read that, I realized how I needed to put that sign out, because I'd been struggling with a lot of negative, fearful thoughts for a long time, and I'd been working to get rid of them, but sometimes they would pop up. And I thought, no, this place has changed hands. I'm no longer connected to those rotten thoughts. This place has changed hands. By that, it has no longer any of these negative, fearful suggestions, but it has the presence and power of God. That's what's with me, and that's all that's true about me. And as I worked that way and thought about that statement, it was of tremendous help. So I'm telling you, if you ever feel like air is knocking at your door, slam the door and say, "Sorry, this place has changed hands." It works. I'm grateful to be here tonight. I'm grateful to hear all the testimonies and the readings, and to be part of an independent church.
Thank you.